What's up, AAU family? I'm Jermaine O'Neal, and you're now listening to Meeting at the Rim with Dale Potter.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to Meeting at the Rim, broadcasting from our AAU National Headquarters here in Lake Buena Vista, Florida. I'm your host, Del Potter. The whole purpose of this podcast is to educate our listeners, followers of AAU basketball that may not know all the inner workings of what we do here in the national office. You may hear about teams playing in AAU tournaments, but it's not actually an AAU licensed event. If that tournament isn't listed on our website, aausports.org, you're not playing AAU basketball. We don't put coaches or athletes on teams. What we do is provide events all year round for teams to play in. We have over 275,000 athletes that play AAU basketball throughout the country and compete and forge lasting friendships. If you're an athlete looking to play in AAU basketball, for a membership, it's just $14, and that runs you from September 1st until August 31st. Throughout the course of the show, we're going to have special guests on to provide their own insight of AAU and what it means to them. I've worked in the NBA for 10 years in the league office as well as the front office with NBA teams. My next guest is a six-time NBA All-Star. In 1996, he made the jump straight out of high school to the league and played 18 years in the NBA. Please welcome Jermaine O'Neal. Jermaine, thank you so much for coming on the show, Meeting at the Rim, man. I appreciate you spending your time here on the show for the listeners, the coaches, the athletes out there, parents who don't know too much about AAU basketball. We have a guy here who's lived it.
Man, I definitely appreciate you guys having me on, man. Obviously, AAU has been a big and has had a big impact on my life, man. Kid from Columbia, South Carolina, in a small town market, being able to get an opportunity to play on that AAU circuit, gave me an opportunity to showcase my talent and have other people see me. So, I'm always going to be happy to be involved with the AAU family. Whatever I can do, man, I'm down for it.
Jermaine, AAU basketball is the starting point in which you were able to showcase your talents in front of coaches, people out there who watched you in high school. And some of them may not have known about you in South Carolina, so you traveling with teams. How important was it for you to play in AAU tournaments during your high school career?
Well, if I didn't play in the AAU tournament, I don't think I probably would have ever been seen. The AAU is a national tournament that puts you on the national scene. A lot of times, when you have kids, that are in small markets and small towns, they don't get that opportunity. The opportunity is just, I wouldn't even call it regional, but just city, county type of scenarios. And when I got the opportunity to play on the AAU team, it was really kind of the springboard, to the next level, to me being elevated to being one of the best players in the country.
Do you have a most memorable AAU game or players that you've played against during your rise up in high school?
I don't know if I had one particular memorable game, but I've been able to play against a lot of people, man, and been able to create lifelong relationships. I think the one that's most important to me to date is Tim Thomas. Playing against him on the AAU circuit, that was one of those relationships that has lasted to this very day. His kids, call me uncle, and my kids call him uncle, and we sit around and we talk about those games and those battles where a kid from South Carolina that he didn't know much about, and playing against a kid from New Jersey that I didn't know much about. I've heard about him, and getting an opportunity to play against each other and create that relationship, man. AAU is more than just sports. It's about these lifelong relationships, and these are the things that you remember when you get older.
I'm from Paterson, New Jersey. You didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
And I grew up next door to Tim Thomas. So when I was in 7th grade, he was probably a junior in high school. So that's a guy I looked up to. I never seen a guy 6'9" bring the ball up. And Patterson Catholic was always a school that I wanted to play for because of Tim. He inspired me to keep playing basketball. 18 years in the league, and a lot has changed in those 18 years. And with the access to technology, a lot of young athletes today are engaging in broadcasting their every move, taking selfies, things of that nature. Being on the phone or in front of a computer, some people feel are keeping kids from going to the gym and getting better. Do you feel like social media usage contributes to the lack in skill development of athletes?
I think I think social media and also just in general technology. Technology has been kind of like the blessing and the curse of youth. I have a 9-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter who both, my daughter lives on social media, and my son, who's younger, I think, which is impacted the most, he just wants to play on the iPad all day. A lot of kids aren't, back when we grew up, we at the parks, we outside running around. A lot of kids aren't doing that anymore, and that's kind of, that's hindered the growth of kids. And, you look at health around the country for our kids, you're talking about the obesity rate being high at the highest it's ever been. And that's because kids aren't outside playing anymore. So to answer your question, yeah, I absolutely think so.
Yeah. The AAU, which is an event operator, only hosts basketball tournaments for young athletes to play in and does not control how a coach strategizes gameplay or manages their team. From a personal development standpoint, what advice would you give someone that is coaching youth basketball?
I think from a personal standpoint, as a player that has went through it and a player that has had friends that have gone through it, I think my conversation is more to the parents. Having the parents understand exactly who they sign their kids up to play for and play with. AAU is the foundation that gives us an opportunity to try to achieve the goals that we dream about achieving. I don't know any other brand on the amateur level that can actually do that and bring kids from all over the country on one playing surface. The problem is that we have people that are having these clubs that are playing on the circuit, on the AAU circuit, that are actually running the clubs wrongfully, and I think that's the biggest issue that needs to be talked about and needs to be addressed. It's the people that we sign our kids up to. The AAU brand is the opportunity. The clubs is the one that's going to make or break the development of your kid, the growth of your kid, whether the kid is successful or whether he fails.
That's something that we talked about a little bit with separating brand confusion, because a lot of NBA players may have their own AAU team, but they don't play in the AAU event, and you hear the negativity associated with the brand AAU. But that's something that the show is all about for our listeners out there that want to play in AAU events or follow AAU events in our basketball. As a young professional in Portland with the Trailblazers, how were you able to manage people who were trying to gain access to your life at a young age like that?
Well, every situation is different. Back then in '96, that was coming out of high school was very fresh and very raw, and it wasn't a real format that was ideal for a particular player. I was blessed to come to a city like Portland, where it was the only pro team in the city. So I became more of a second son, to the fans, and the organization was fully prepared for my arrival for a 17-year-old straight out of high school player coming to a man's league. So my situation was different. I don't know. I can't speak for other people's scenarios, but the transition was tough. It was tough, coming from Columbia, South Carolina, southern kid, to going to the great Northwest. It rained 80% of the year. You go from being the best player on the court at all times in high school to being the fourth best person at your position in the pros. So, a lot of people talk about the physical aspect of it, but the mental part was the toughest. I was able to bring along family members, and they were able to keep away, a lot of the, sharks that, you hear about and people talk about. And that my foundation was what really helped me through that process. So that was one of the main ways between the city and my teammates and the Trailblazers organization and my family. When I got home, I was always fully taken care of.
Your draft class of '96 had Iverson, Kobe, Ray Allen, those guys that you might have played against in the AAU basketball circuit, what did you learn from that competitiveness?
Man, you said as far as the AAU circuit?
Right.
Man, the AAU circuit was just crazy. I mean, I got an opportunity to see kids. I remember Shea Cotton from California. Once I first got my first taste of the AAU circuit, I started looking at rankings and where the guys are playing at, and I started seeing guys like him, Jelani McCoy, obviously Kevin Garnett and those guys being from where I'm from. That foundation and that springboard gave us an opportunity not only to see what we've read about, but play against those players and then create those relationships. It's a part of sports that people don't understand. And the part that we remember the most is our amateur years. That's the part that we remember the most. Those are the relationships that last forever. We grew up through, eating the bag lunches and traveling and, through these circuits and, whatever it may be. Those are the most memorable things. And I'm not just saying this because I'm having this conversation with you, but if I didn't believe in AAU, my character says that I wouldn't be having this interview with you. Right. I'm having this interview with you because AAU is one of the sole reasons why somebody was able to see me and be able to see that I had talent, be able to see that, I deserve to be on the national stage. And again, if it's any parents, or dads, uncles, guardians listening to this, man, like, be careful who you sign your kids up with. Those are the people that are making, the bad decisions, not AAU. AAU is giving your kid, your brother, your sister, your niece, your nephew, whatever it may be, the opportunity to go and fulfill a lifelong dream that they've dreamed about. So just understand that, man.
There's someone right now, as we're speaking, that's 12 years old, 13, 14, that is gaining attention because of what they could do athletically on the basketball court. What advice would you give a young athlete that is starting to gain that kind of attention from so many people?
Well, to me, when kids are getting that type of advice and acknowledgement, understanding that you are still 12. Understanding that it is a lot of growth that needs to happen, not just physically, but more than anything, mentally. When you start believing that you're the best and you don't have to necessarily work as hard anymore, then typically when it's time for you to make a decision at 17, your options aren't going to be there. And the kids that are 17, 18 has all pretty much surpassed you in skill set. So it's good to be good at 12. It's good to be noticed. Take that in respect and take that in as honor. But at the same time, understand that it is somebody else out there working just as hard with that skill set that you have, that same skill set that you have. And you got to always figure out what separates you from the next person that's trying to play basketball. It is millions of kids out there across, not only in the U.S., but across the world, that's trying to get that goal that you're trying to get to. And the only way you can separate yourself is continue to work hard.
And I know playing 18 years in the NBA straight out of high school is rare. You're one of a dying breed of high school athletes from the NBA that made that transition. What type of mental approach did you have to develop in order to survive 18 years out of high school in the NBA?
Man, you got to figure out who you are. You got to figure out what your struggles are. You got to figure out what you're really good at. And once you figure those things out, then you got to keep figuring out how do you keep redefining yourself. Because this league comes in and, every year it's a draft. It's a new crop of kids coming in every year. So it makes your job, as the older you get, it makes your job that much harder because you're not going to be able to run as fast, jump as high, move as quick your entire career. Every year you play, something's going to come off that meter. And you got to redefine yourself and make sure that you're able to do something better the next year that you wasn't able to do the previous year. And that's what particularly worked for me. And even when it comes down to injuries, try to understand how you can better position yourself. Can you eat better? Can you sleep better? Can you, do things a little bit better to protect yourself?
It was very inspiring listening to you talk about your projects post-career. If you can you talk a little bit about your current project that you're developing in the Texas area, Dallas, and your future involvement with AAU?
Yeah, man. So I'm pretty fresh to Dallas. I'm 2.5 years in. I've been into the private investing sector in the business world probably maybe 6 or 7 years now, and I have kids that play sports. My daughter is volleyball, my son is basketball, and so I've been able to look and see what some of the issues and challenges were from a development physically and from a development mentally, and was able to really put together a format that really answered some of those issues. And so we're building a gym that is really kind of first of its kind with technology, from the playing surface being able to track your shots, real time shooting to your phone. It keeps up with the field goal percentage, makes and misses on the courts, breaks down where you the hottest, the coldest, and we average at on the court. From a weight room perspective, we have a company called Athos, which is really the first smart apparel company to do this. So they're actually coming in and they're going to be our partner to show how the body is really performing when they're training. To me, that is really key, because the problem is in the sports world now is that the kids are playing so much that they're just killing the joints. Meniscus, ankles, shoulders are all shredded by the time it's time for them to go pro or go to college. So if you want to be able to take a look at some of the technology, just go to Athos, LIVEATHOS, LIVEATHOS.com, shottracker.com is going to do the basketball part of it, and even partnering up with AAU. I felt like reaching out to AAU was something that meant a lot to me, because it gave me the opportunity to play on the stage, and there's a lot of kids out there that deserve that opportunity, and I couldn't picture a better organization to try to create that partnership with than AAU.
And there's a lot of NBA players out there that have come through our AAU tournaments and gotten that attention from coaches, which propelled their careers going forward. Can you discuss the importance of current and former NBA players giving back to AAU basketball and having their teams play in our AAU licensed tournaments?
Man, I think it's important for our youth to understand our path, how it started and how we got to where we are. A lot of times in sports, we are viewed to be it's like a dream and something that's not really real. In all actuality, we were once that kid that is sitting there watching and following us. Mm-hmm. Getting that opportunity to understand who you are, get into a circuit. For me, really was get into a circuit on the AAU level where you can see exactly where your talent level is, because then now you're playing against the best kids around the region, the best kids around the country. And so I think it's important for NBA players to be able to say, hey, listen, I remember that. I was once in your position. Give them stories on what they did to excel, what they excelled at, and even some of the stories of what they did when they failed at certain things. I think, giving the formula to kids and our youth is what's going to really put our youth and our amateur kids in amateur sports in a better position.
I can't wait to hear more about the project going forward, because it's really going to be impactful in youth sports across the country. Jermaine, thank you so much for coming on Meeting at the Rim. Please follow us on Twitter at Jermaine O'Neal, myself, Del Potter, at Del P AAU. Follow AAU Basketball at AAU_basketball, and visit our website, aausports.org, to become an AAU member. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.